Welcome to today's video. In today's video, we'll be discussing the latest news going on in the Russian-Ukraine war. The date is May 21st, 2024. So without further ado, let's get into it. First off, we have some attacks by Ukrainian FPV drones. I apologize, but I'm not going to be able to show you guys this footage because of the violence that takes place during this footage, and YouTube frowns upon that type of content. But the Ukrainians are actively striking Krinky. I believe Krinky now is 100% under Russian control because we've seen drone strikes basically in every place of Krinky. Ever since May 1st, you can see a lot of drone strikes in this, like, every part of Krinky imaginable. So I believe Krinky is 100% under Russian control, but I think Ukraine is going to try to do something again very soon. So let's move on to the other parts. Crimea was not struck today, but a couple strikes were done yesterday. We still don't have the full reports of everything because there's not a lot of satellite imagery available in Crimea because Russia's very strict on that, and just people taking photos. Moving on to the Zaporizhia front, we have the Ukrainians bombing the Russian positions, and then we also have the Russians bombing the Ukrainian positions with TOS. And as you can see from here, this is where the Ukrainians are located, right by Robotine. So even though Russia has taken back the town, it's basically still Ukraine still has the advantage if they were to do another counterattack here, because they still have the fields. Now, if they lose the fields, then they'll be put back to where they were at the beginning. But if Ukraine really wanted to, they could literally just go around Robotine straight to Novoprovka, and any type of big assault on Robotine is going to end Robotine. And the reason being is because it's so damaged, it's so destroyed, that literally when the Ukrainians were there, they could not be in the open. They had to hide in basements until the Russians attacked. Then they would come out and attack the Russians. Moving on to Orozhane, we have reports that the Russians captured some parts of Orozhane. This is the Russians using Fab 500s, I believe, in Orozhane. So it's the FABs that the Russians have been using have been very effective against the Ukrainian forces. This is also, Russians are not using FABs, but they're using, it looks like artillery, some type of artillery, against the Ukrainians in Stolmanovsk. Now, moving on to the front line in Novomikhailivka, we have this footage, but it's for some reason not available. But it's of Russian attack. I don't know if the attack went well, if the attack went poorly, because of the footage is not available. We cannot see it. This is the Russians destroying a Ukrainian howitzer, and we've seen a lot of these videos of Russians destroying a Ukrainian howitzer. This is video. So the Ukrainians reported that this whole entire town was captured. They must have done a counterattack because these are the Russians attacking this village. And as you can see, the Russian flag over there, the Russian Empire flag over there, and that's just the beginning of the town. Now, moving on to this area over here, quiet front line, but it's basically just drone strikes. I'm sorry, but for some reason this map is glitching today, and a lot of the footage is not being shown. Let me try and refresh it, and then we can get back to some of the footage. So, moving on to Donetsk, things have kind of calmed down. Obviously, there's FPV drone strikes. We're not going to watch that because the Russian soldiers are dead. There's like 30 dead Russian soldiers in that one tree line. However, this is Russian helicopter attack. So what's going on in Donetsk is just counter battery fire. And Abrams was destroyed, as you can see over here. This says Abrams, but this says Leopard. So, I don't know if it's an Abrams or Leopard. It looks like a Leopard to me, but we're gonna have to see who is right on that claim. Moving on to near Bakhmut area, the Russians have almost completely captured Chasiv, and I mean not Chasiv, excuse me, Klishivka, and this is right here. The thing is, Russia recapturing Klishivka is nothing big because Russia actually did have Klishivka 100% under its control before the Ukrainian 2023 summer counteroffensive. So for Russia to actually recapture Klishivka, Russia has already had this, and it really proved no significant gains. Now, moving on to Chasiv, we do have Russian gains in the near right here in the city. What you have to do with the Russians are kind of like a disease. Once they get in the city, they spread out and they usually stay there. So you have to push them back ASAP. We see the Ukrainian Legion doing this in this counter attack that they posted. So from what it looks like on the video, everything went well and the mission was successful. That was right over here, right outside of Chasiv. Okay, so now moving on to the other front, we do have reports that Russia has captured this Bohorivka over here. This is a pretty big village, pretty big city. The Russians lost a lot trying to capture it, but hey, they finally did. We don't know where the who's at the mountains at the moment, but right now it seems like the Ukrainians are at least right here. So now moving on to the Kharkiv front line, we have a lot of reports of Russian capturing this area over here. Really, these are very unreliable Russian reports, and since a Russian strike just happened here, it just, I don't know how reliable it is. Okay, so moving on to this village over here, we have reports and photos of Russian soldiers in this area. Everybody basically knows it's already been captured by the Russians. We have Russians bombing the Ukrainians over here. We have basically fires going on in the area, and of course we have a ODAB 500 strike. So I've never seen that bomb before. It's probably going to be an updated version of the Fab 500. Yeah, that looks pretty powerful. Could be a problem for the Ukrainians in the future. This is a video of the Ukrainians bombing the Russian positions. So basically it's just counter battery. The Russians have basically stalled for now in their advances. Over here, the Russians seem to have complete dominance over the Ukrainians in artillery and drone footage. Of course, we're not going to be able to watch this because of the loss of life. Over here, we see a Ukrainian anti-tank system getting destroyed by the Russians. So that's basically all what's happening. We have Russian artillery strikes literally right at the border that could hint to something bigger. This was from May 18th, according to the video. So that could hint to something bigger. So Zelensky yesterday, May 20th, was Zelensky's supposed to be last day in office. Of course, he's going to stay in. People say that's corrupt. It's actually not. Just read the Ukrainian constitution. And with the Ukrainian people, 64% not favoring an election at this moment, it's really not what pro-Russian propagandists are painting it out to be. Also, you have Zelensky having a 64% approval rating, which we may say is low, but no Ukrainian president up to this point has had an approval rating higher than 50%. So it's actually pretty high for Ukraine. Anyway, guys, thank you guys for watching today's video. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Bye.